Hello everybody, welcome to Monday Morning Must Knows. My name is Merlin Ralphwood, and there were a lot of surprises last week, and the reason I'm starting with surprises is because we have some serious announcements happening this week, which might follow suit from what happened last week. The things I'm talking about are predominantly the interest rates. So you had the Australian dollar, they were expected to stay flat, they raised 25 basis points. Then you had the Canadian dollar, they were expected to stay flat, and they raised 25 basis points as well. And interestingly enough, we have a major announcement happening this week, which, who knows, we might get a little surprise there. Let's start things off with your long-term approach. That's right, it's interest rate week. It's decisions about the interest rates here in the U.S. Jerome Powell will be speaking, and that's where we're going to start today. As you can see here, Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 5.25. That's where we're at right now, and they're expected to stay at 5.25. So a lot of questions about will they raise or will they keep it right there? Because remember, we have had a couple of surprises. We did have, again, Canada and Australia raised surprisingly 25 basis points last week. So who knows? Right now, all expectations are that we're going to stay the same. But that is not the really important stuff. Right now, there's about a 72% probability that we're going to see a stop to the raising. Okay, well, that means we also have a decent chance that there's going to be some increase of 25 basis points. But really what matters is what happens after that. It's the press conference where Jerome Powell will be fielding questions from the media, and that happens about 30 minutes after this statement is released at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. So that will be your major talking point for the week is what happened Wednesday. But don't worry, we've got more to talk about, more to discuss, because it's not just the U.S., it's about international rates as well. So as I mentioned, we had Canada and Australia last week. This week, we have a tentative announcement for Thursday coming out from the Bank of Japan. They've been stuck at negative 0.1 forever. The real question is, at what point does Japan start to go back to a zero policy and maybe even start to get into positive territory? Because as you can tell, they've been punishing their savers for a long time at a negative 0.1% interest rate over there. That's probably going to change in the near future. We might get some hints from that from the Bank of Japan governors when they speak. And lastly, the final piece for the week, the ECB, the European Central Bank, will be coming out with the rate announcement as well. Thursday, 8:15 a.m. Eastern Time is when that announcement is due to be unleashed on the marketplace, and they're expected to stay exactly where they're at 3.75. So a lot of uncertainty. We had almost nobody expecting the rate increases for Canada and Australia. Now this week we've got Japan and we have the ECB plus the U.S. markets. Should add a lot of volatility. Be excited about that one. All right, our next one, inflation. We keep hearing that it's dropping, it's declining. Is it? Well, we do have two very important metrics coming out this week with regards to inflation. And I put up here the image for global inflation because obviously the U.S. market is a reflection of the overall world, and we'll have more international stuff happening next week. But we'll start with the U.S. because that's what I have cooking for this week. Consumer Price Index, Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. That will be released. You can see on the hard red edge, it was 0.4% at the previous meeting. Right now, they're expecting it to be cut in half from 0.4% gain to a 0.2% gain. So that's actually fairly good if you're someone that thinks that inflation is subsiding. Might be a little bit of a positive piece there. Then the following day, you have the Producer Price Index on Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Similar picture here, although the PPI number was 0.2, a positive 0.2 number. The expectations are that this month's reading will be a negative 0.1. Both of those very positive signs for anybody who feels that inflation is still this dark cloud over the markets. The more we start to see these CPI and PPI numbers decline, the more likely the overall pressure from inflation will start to subside, and that may allow the Federal Reserve and your government to do more spending and stimulate the economy, but inflation certainly is a major issue for us. So keep your eye on that. Tuesday and Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, you have CPI and you have PPI. Now, our final bit of news brings us over to the sales side of things, retail sales to be precise. In the U.S., we get our numbers on Thursday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, for all intents and purposes, retail sales have been fairly flat. We had a negative couple of months followed by the previous month of 0.4% gain. So that felt nice to see a 0.4% gain on the hard red edge and the red box there. Now, of interest is the expectations are it's going to come out at a negative 0.1. So you have retail sales negative 0.1 and PPI at a negative 0.1. Retail sales is critical because obviously the more consumption, the more growth, the more job creation. If we see retail sales continue to slide, then that could put some pressure on the economy as well, and certainly those retail stocks. Now, one of the great things about the retail sales announcement is there is a report that's released with that where you can dive through it and kind of find where are the key areas of the economy that are being impacted the most by retail sales, whether that's positive or negative, and that may present some investment or buying opportunities for you, or maybe even selling opportunities. That, my friends, is your Monday Morning Must Knows. We'll see you next week.